Welcome, my friends. I am Omar Krieg, and this is the Krieg Dominion in this house of horrors that I'm currently residing. I am your Lord and Commander, and your host for tonight's, I don't know, what is this, 18th episode of Blood and Glory, a Pendragon campaign, A Father's Pride. I am joined, of course, by my local hooligans, and by local I mean here on the interwebs. I have my oldest son, who will be the first one to drop an F bomb, I'm sure, and if he does, I'm throwing rocks at him. Wonderful. He's AFK getting water apparently.
No, I'm here. Oh,
Well,
I
speak.
thought you were waiting. I thought you were waiting for me to cuss, and I wasn't gonna do it. But all right.
No, don't cuss. Just speak.
Side note. Yeah. Whatever. Tonight's food is curry.
Let me guess. You had curry tonight. Is that
No,
what?
I'm eating curry right now. Yeah.
Are you trying to curry favor with him?
Oh my
No.
god. Oh
I'll just leave it at that. I don't got anything else.
I'm so done. I'm so done right now. Rodance, what's new and exciting in your crazy part of the world?
Well, I managed my thing that I pre-ordered ages like 6 months ago. Finally showed up this last week. It's a little pocket card game called Sprawlopolis. Has an Agropolis and Naturepolis too, and a Combo Polis for when you're recombining them. And they're cute. They come in these little you could shove them in like a purse easily. They're like almost little wallet-sized things. They're very nice.
Nice.
Travel card games. They're like 15 cards, but they make a repeatable game to play.
Well, that's always what as a game developer, which if you didn't know, I actually went to school for. That's one of the things you're looking for when you're creating a game is like how can you engender replayability? How does that come about? Because, I'm sure we've all sat there and played a board game or something where you're like, well, I played it one time, and that was cool, but I don't know if I could play this again. Usually video games run into this easily. Like, how do I play this game again and not...
Omar, get with the times. You're not supposed to gender anything. He just said you're supposed to engender a sense of replayability.
I did. And that word has nothing to do with gender. So I can use it all I want. Anyway, that was my retort to your pitiful attempt at punnery. Anyway.
Yeah, and I have a pre-ordered manga that should be coming out in another 2-3 weeks. I'm excited for too.
Which
Nice.
one?
Probably not one you'll read unless you're not offended by the fact that there is gay romance as part of the plotline.
Okay, no, I'm okay.
Wait, what's wrong with gay romance, boy?
Nothing. It's just
Look.
among the manga community, it's different for people that aren't into that thing.
Oh yeah, I understand. I had to sort through quite a bit of so you know how they say like porn can get really bad. Gay manga is worse in the abusive, inappropriate relationship sense. It's very hard to find any that are even remotely healthy in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I'm not trying to defend it, and I'm certainly not trying to say anything out of turn. I will say that when it comes to art imitating life, finding inappropriate relationships, which, for the record, in and of itself is a very broad stroke, it's not very hard to find an inappropriate relationship.
No.
Because, unfortunately, humanity is an emotionally driven creature, and because of those emotions that we feel, we tend to manipulate others. I'm getting a little deep into the psychology of things and probably a little off topic.
But if we're talking about normal, like, light novels, let's see. Ascendancy of the Bookworm has been putting out a lot of content lately, and it's been very good. So, I'm excited. I hope they do another run of their anime.
I know nothing about anime. Anime has never been able to capture my interest.
Well, I mean, I could sit and talk about socio-political nonsense, but we have better things to do called we can pretend to play King Arthur times and have that version of social.
I was just gonna say we have better things to do, playing our own game of social political issues. Rev, welcome to the table. What do you got for us?
No, I don't really got much of anything tonight. Been out. So I know this is gonna surprise everybody, I was working on a project, and did you know that when you're laying out something that needs 160 feet of adhesive, and somebody brings you a 40-foot roll of adhesive, that's just not gonna cut it.
No, you're missing about 75% of what you need.
So that was my part of my day. But anyway,
That's when you tell them to go back and get 3 more rolls. Make it 4 just to have enough. Is that all you
yeah, I
got?
didn't want to. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
I could make a joke about the guy at the hardware store, like sitting there at his cashier station, openly reading adult manga.
I mean, if you're into it, then enjoy it. But there are places for various things,
Oh, yeah.
and maybe at the
Well,
front
see,
desk is not it.
Well, and I asked him, "What you reading?" And he's like, "Oh man!" And he shows me the cover, and I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "Yeah, she got a," and he said some things that are probably inappropriate for stream. And I said, "Uh-huh," and just nodded. And he's like, "Yeah, man, I saw that." He didn't say behind. He said, "I saw that behind, and I knew I had to get this one."
Hey, I mean, if you're into it, you're into it. But
Yeah,
time,
but, like-
time and place, time and place.
This is within the first 30 seconds of meeting a total stranger.
Yeah, no, that I mean, you did lead with, "Hey, what are you reading?" Which does open that door to whatever it is he's reading. However, you know, what you're reading at the front desk or at a register for a store is probably shouldn't be something quite so bold, we'll say.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's my opinion. Take it as you will. Maybe I'm too old-fashioned for these modern times. I don't know. I just do what I do. Anyway, I am Omar Krieg, and as previously mentioned, I am the Lord and Commander of the Krieg Dominion, and your host for tonight, our episode of Blood and Glory. This is episode 18. We're almost to 20, which is kind of a milestone. 25 is also kind of a milestone. But I digress. Previously on Blood and Glory, King Uther leads the chivalry of Logres towards Cornwall, for now has finally come the time to deal with Duke Gorlo. There, on a field in the woods, the armies muster, making camp for the night before the battle surely to come. Sir Gareth approaches Sir Everhart and Sir Dallin, inquiring about Sir Vidomar joining the ranks of the Brotherhood of Dead Men. Sir Vidomar is brought into the small group, and the knights seek their nightly rest. I did throw a little pun in there, if you couldn't tell. In the morning, King Uther and Duke Gorlo ride out for parley, and instead come nigh to an argument, until Excalibur is drawn, its shining, brilliant white light dispelling all shadow, and revealing the Cornish troops hiding for ambush in the trees surrounding the clearing. Gorlo, seemingly convinced by the light of Excalibur, acquiesces, that was almost difficult to read, and returns to the Logres fold. The army marches north, and some units break off to seek skirmishing Saxons in order to relieve the city of Eburicum, and in the fighting, there are casualties on both sides, including Sir Vidomar and even Sir Everhard. Injured gravely, they both end up making it back home in varying states of disrepair, but for them and us, the campaign season has drawn to a close. So now it is roughly fall-ish, basically anytime between the end of summer and the beginning of what will later become winter phase of 489. Our first order of business is the Saxon prisoners. For some silly reason, I didn't write in here who actually captured the Thane that wasn't killed. I think it was Sir Dallin.
I only killed them.
So, that would be me.
All right, well, early one morning, as you are slowly coming up out of bed and all that, you receive notice from one of your guardsmen that Aetheldrad, who is the Saxon that you had captured, is wishing an audience with you.
Oh.
Okay. I assume that there's standards for treating them well and so on and so forth.
I mean, they're Saxons, but also yes. So it's up to you how to. I've got to feel like it'd probably go somewhere in the 50-50, 60-40 of treating them at least fairly honorably, but they're also Saxons. So does it really apply? And therefore it kind of leaves it up to individual interpretation.
Yes, you always treat your prisoners well.
Unless they're assholes.
That
Or
is
Saxons.
not an exception.
Listen, Geneva Conventions doesn't come around for at least another 1,500 years, so
Okay, we're not even going to discuss how Jason's not a signatory of it either.
No, because that would be again back to those social political issues that we discussed a moment ago. But yes, so Aethelred would like to speak with you.
Yes.
Obviously at your leisure, because he's the one chained up and caged and whatever.
I'll make my way down there, sometime the next day or so.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when you do, I'm assuming you're coming to him in his cell. Now, give us a moment and help set the scene. And what kind of holding arrangement do you have Aethelred in?
Yeah, I am not one of those people who stores them in the sub basement next to the root vegetables. They're
That's
probably
Go ahead.
they're probably separated in a separate building just to keep them from being anywhere near the armory or the family or anything like that.
Okay, so like a small hut or something with plenty of guards about.
Yeah, it's a small hut.
I imagine there's some means by which to keep him warm because it is getting cool out at night, especially at night.
I mean, it's just
Excuse me.
honestly, it's one of those where I'm pretty sure they just get locked in a hut with a little bed, a little fireplace, kitchenette thing, a table, a chair.
Oh, so this is
couple
more of
stacks
his
of
own.
candles.
This is more of a, for lack of a better word, this is the the 5th century version of a little suite as opposed to like
Yeah,
the
it's
garden
basically
shack.
Yeah, it's basically the technically if someone was a back gardener, they could live there and be okay type of
Okay.
shack.
All right, but there's not a
But
lot of
no,
room,
like
and there's guards.
it's just little. There's
Okay.
a guard or two posted out.
Okay.
Heck, at this point, it's one of those. Yeah, we don't give you long weapons, but frankly, you're cooking for yourself half the time. Have a fucking kitchen knife for all we care.
Yeah, yeah. Probably not a very
As long
good
as you
one.
sit in your box, no one's going to try to kill you.
Right, right.
That's kind of the general assumption.
Now I have to take a little bit of creative license here. I don't know what a Saxon would do in this situation, but I will say this: when you approach or when you enter his little shack, he will take a knee. He understands fully that he is the captive, and he is trying to be at least fairly honorable, etc. Partially because, well, nobody likes to be captured, but nobody wants to be killed either, regardless of any sort of honor codes or values or what have you. So he's hoping ultimately he's going to make it back home to his family. So he's being respectable, etc. My lord, I would ask if there has been any word about ransom for myself and those of my clan that were captured with me.
I'm assuming if the other captured dude is probably also just chilling in here.
Well,
I
so
thought we
I don't. Each
thought
of
we
you
had-
captured one or two or something like that, and I didn't put it in my prep notes for some reason. Or I overthought it, or
Yeah, I don't know.
whatever the word is. Yeah, we hear you, Rev.
Rev.
No, I just thought we captured at least 2 warriors and a noble.
Yeah, we have the Thane, and there was a couple other warriors. I don't remember how many. And like I said, for whatever reason, oversight on my part, I didn't put any, I didn't put those specific numbers in here. I came up with a name for the Thane, and that was it.
Yeah, it's honestly, I'm perfectly happy to babysit them if nobody else wants to while we're waiting to return them under ransom.
Okay. Yeah, so if
I
they're
literally would
all...
just have several of them in the same hut. I mean, they
Yeah,
get fed.
yeah.
There are an appropriate number of stools.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
They get
Obviously,
fed. They're
obviously he
expected
wouldn't...
to maintain.
Yeah, obviously he wouldn't be asking about the well-being of his fellows if they were right there with him.
I even keep them appropriately fed in a reasonable, modest fare.
Okay. Well, that's even better. They'll be happy. Well, they won't be happy. They'll be moderately thankful. But he will... let me back up. So yes. So, my lord, if you would be willing to share this information with me, I am curious to know on the status of our ransom. Also, war is war, battle is battle. That older knight that I felled, is he still alive?
Yes.
He's, and for the clarity for anybody, viewers and players alike, he is referring to Sir Vitamar, who took a massive critical hit.
Yeah, but not from the Thane, just from one of the warriors.
Oh, well, maybe he remembers that story differently. Because maybe the GM doesn't remember everything.
Uh-huh. I'm actually pretty sure that particular warrior I cut in half. So
Eh, these things happen on the field of battle. They don't have to happen, back home or in a garden shack
uh-huh.
of somebody else's home. But yeah, so
I'm assuming there's a location where we send off letters saying, "Hey, you gonna pay money to get your dude back?" Moments.
yes, and on
What
that,
are letters?
they're the squiggly things
Oh.
that we put on paper. Um,
Or
Aether Dread,
messengers of some other variety.
yeah. So what I will tell you is that it has been at least a few weeks, and you have not yet received any information or response from any letters that you have sent out.
I would just be honest about that. It's like I've received no response. This is our normal contact location. Is there something else that you guys would normally go through?
I can take you. I'm reviewing my notes because I want to make sure I got this right. I can return to my people, and probably acquire the money, personally, and release it to you, if you were to trust me. Obviously, uh, if the tables were reversed, I would probably be under guard. So, yeah, if you're willing to let me go under guard, perhaps even with you, we can return to my people and we can make sure the ransom takes place. I don't know what is going on with the delay. Perhaps perhaps something with the king. And when he says king, he's not referring to Uther, by the way. Perhaps something is going on with the king. There was, of course, a lot of fighting around Ibericum. Maybe something got in the way, something lost in translation.
I'm assuming there's no way to turn him into a useful pawn for negotiating a proper ceasefire for a couple of years. That doesn't feel like something that would happen around this time frame, would it?
As the GM, I probably shouldn't say what I'm about to say, but having started prepping for 490, absolutely not. 490 is
Yeah.
going to be a busy year.
Frankly, I dislike the idea of sending back warriors, but I also dislike the idea of keeping them indefinitely, and I don't particularly feel like executing prisoners. I look over my shoulder to make sure Rev's character is not standing anywhere near me. I'm of the opinion I'd rather just release these people and send them on home.
Am I anywhere around?
No, no, because this is taking place in Stableford, and you're back in Pitton.
Yeah, but I still look over my shoulder to check.
Just to check in case he didn't happen to ride up and be like, "Hey, so how are things? Is your harvest going well? Oh, wait, what happened to those Saxons?" Just to be clear, because I was trying to answer a question from stream chat. Your intention is to send them on their merry way and expect them to come back with the money?
Frankly, I would much rather not have to deal with them at all much going forward.
Uh-huh.
But I also know riding up into their particular lands is a great way of getting myself captured and ransomed back.
This is also true. So Aetheldrad will sense your hesitation and consternation. And he says, I think I understand your concern, and I think what we could do. You have no reason to trust me, no more than I to trust you, except for the fact that you have kept me and my people fairly well fed for the last several weeks. I propose, in the honors of our two cultures, that I can be taken back to my people, and when they see me, I'm sure we can present some sort of badge or flag or something so they know not to attack you because I will be with them. More so, we would be going to my home specifically where they would recognize me and know not to attack me, regardless of who is with me, so that you would receive the money for which you have justly earned. I'm no fan of being defeated on the field of battle, but I'm sure if the tables were turned, as I mentioned before, you would be in a similar situation, wondering about your own continued existence and or returning to your family. Would you not?
I nod and go, it's simply more of a question of logistics. If dropping you near your home is the most sensible way, that seems reasonable.
We are all
Look, I just want them out of my hair at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah. We are all warriors under the powers that be, the sun, the sky, the moon. We do the best we can for those that we are entrusted. Our families, our servants, the people that work our fields. If we return to them, we can continue to lead them and guide them. And some of my Saxon brothers would not be so quick to strike deals with you, Himricks. I simply want to return home. I am a warrior, but I also am a farmer.
Got some family, probably some chitlins he wants to deal with back
Yeah,
home.
yeah. I'm pulling the Viking card a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's a little early for Vikings.
Yeah, I'm honestly perfectly happy to ride a good chunk of the way home, hand him a backpack of supplies, and tell him walk the last 5 miles, or whatever the case may be.
Okay, and then foregoing any sort of ransom payment, correct? Or are you expecting some sort of payment?
That was
If
a
he
lot
can,
of liro.
uh-huh. Do you have any clue how much I'm currently sitting on?
Me personally, no. I'm sure you've got a handful, if not two or three.
No, I'm sitting on 20 something.
Yeah, he's offering to essentially double that.
Oh yeah, I'm perfectly happy if he mails it to me eventually, but I maybe at some point I just am like, frankly, getting you out of my hair and not having to worry about having people post back here and feeding you and all that other stuff saves me a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might linger at the drop-off point for a day or two if you want to discuss something after dropping you off, but I have my own things to attend to after that.
Very well. How soon do you think we can leave this place?
Well, I mean, we obviously want to go do that before full snow falls, so
Yes,
probably the
yes.
next week or two.
Very well. I obviously am at your. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Disposal.
I gestured
Disposal,
to the
yeah.
others.
Literally, possibly.
I gestured to the others, going, "Can I drop them off with you, or do we need to leave them somewhere else?"
I can ensure that, well, that man comes with me, but the rest they can. I'll make sure that they get home.
I look at the rest of them, going, "Yeah, you guys can manage to walk from wherever his house is, right?"
Yeah, yeah. Like, once you cross over to the Saxon lines, I'm pretty sure I can get the rest of them guys home. We have buses over there. I don't know what you guys got with horses and carts.
I know, right? Hey, look, I'm not gonna go drop them in the middle of somebody's field if they're gonna just starve to death standing in the
No,
field because
no.
it's
I
the
think
middle of winter.
I think what
I'm not
Aethelred would do
sick.
was obviously his own man would come with him, but he would just be like, "Yeah, fuck it, you guys come with me because this is stupid. I'm not gonna leave you here either. This is silly." All right. So the plan is to head out after a week or so to some location fairly safe from Saxon attacks, not far from Aetheldred's home. Let him go.
Drop them a few miles out from home, like an
Yeah.
hour, so he can walk back reasonably without us running into their patrols.
Yeah, spend what, a single night, 2 nights waiting?
Yeah,
Okay.
a couple days to make sure there isn't any drama ensuing, and then just leave. I mean, there's got to be some real similar process for known handoffs already.
Probably. And the fact that you haven't heard anything yet, you know, when you attempted to do the normal, expected, traditional ransoming actions, like the fact that you didn't get a response back within a few weeks was a little bit weird. Taking this route is obviously the non-standard way to do it. But you make this trip into the Saxon lines. It takes about 2-3 days to get there. When you get to the quote-unquote the clearing, Aetheldrad will ask that you remove his bindings.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine you will, so that he's not tripping on himself. And then he leads his people further north into, I guess it would be, I don't know what the Northern Saxony would be called, but they head back. And about 2 days later, early in the morning, shortly after sunrise, Aetheldrad returns, and he is bringing with him a chest. When he approaches, obviously your guards are, Holt who goes there, etc., guardly things. Aetheldrad returns, as expected. He takes a knee before you, and he sets the chest down, and he opens it to present to you a chest filled with some gold, a bunch of silver, like a lot of silver, and various gems and other trinkets. And then, well, actually, I'll leave it at there first. And give you a chance to reply.
I thank him for returning, and I hope that he found his lands in good health.
Well, my wife was definitely happy to see me, and my children, but my lands, it was not a good year, but I think we'll do all right. I think we'll be okay. I want to thank you, Sir Dallin, for your hospitality and your generosity, and no small measure of trust either. I'm sure others of your people would have seen this as a chance to be murdered, and again, some of my own people would have used this opportunity to enact all sorts of treachery. And he takes off of his arm, because when he returns, obviously he's dressed more Saxon like, Saxon gear, and one of the things that the Saxons do, for the record, I'm not 100% sure about the cultural accuracy here, but we're going to say that these Saxons in particular did this, is that they wear various bracelets and armbands to indicate how wealthy, strong, or powerful they are, because they are actually literally worth money. And he takes one of them off and he hands it to you. This is a Saxon bracelet. It is made out of metal. You may not be able to figure out what metal, because I didn't take any notes on that. We can just call it just a regular iron band or whatever. But it does have a value, and it is actually worth legit money insofar as the Saxon culture and currency and all that stuff. And it should be noted, if you haven't picked up on the subtle nuances there, that this is actually kind of a big deal.
I thank him for his consideration, and I say I hope that we can be some more moderating influences on our fellows. While our people may constantly disagree, we can at least go about it in a more civilized manner.
Hengist wanted only to unite the island. I suppose no different than Uther, but they were two totally different people. And now we have Eosa and Octa, his sons, the sons and nephew of Hengist. Perhaps under their leadership we will find the way, but this land will see much more blood still. But you're right. Just because we are different doesn't mean we have to continue to brain each other all the time. Perhaps one day our kind will find a way to work together. Maybe even rule the world. And if you can't tell on the stream, I've got a stupid look on my face, because that's more or less what happens.
I know, right?
I just wanted to throw that in there because I wanted to be a little shit. But yeah, no, so Aetheldrad is, he's giving you 20 Libra. He's also giving you the bracelet that, if it's valued, is worth 6, but it also has much more worth than simply monetary value. But though it's entirely up to you what you want to do with it.
Oh, heck, I'm gonna keep it on me and wear it, probably.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a sign of, I'm trying to think of the right word, and I cannot think of it, but this is like cultural exchange 101 type stuff here. He's giving you something of his own personal value, something that's incredibly important to him as a man in that culture, and he's given that to you. So this is definitely some sort of bond of
I'm just
trust.
trying to think of if we would have something similar.
I don't know, and I may not even have this whole bracelet thing
There-
for the Saxons may not even be entirely accurate either.
Honestly, the most I could think of it would be like a pin with my family crest or device on it.
That
That's the
would,
only thing
but
yeah, that's the only thing I could think that I would reasonably have on me that would be of something equivalent as a moment of rank.
yeah, I mean, at the very least, it'll be a treasured souvenir if nothing else. You know, it might not have much monetary value in and of itself, but the fact that it was given to Aetheldrad as opposed to him taking it,
Oh yeah, I will
Yeah.
definitely. I'm assuming I have a pin or something.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
definitely
Some sort of
hand
crest.
it over to him.
Yeah, and he will definitely he'll definitely be appreciative of it, and sorry, brain is running around in circles now because I started reading other lines while speaking, mind you. Yeah, no, Aetheldrad will be very appreciative of the pin, and much bowing, much thanking, and then they eventually leave, and you
Yeah.
make your way back to Stapleford. Now.
Oh yeah, that reminds me.
Go ahead.
Take a. Rev, did we agree on what split we were getting on the thing?
I thought we were each keeping the
were-
monetary value for our own warriors and splitting the thing.
Yeah, that's what I have noted.
Okay, so
Seeing as I basically just returned all of them, and I don't think Vitamar was awake to capture anybody.
I think he captured one before he got knocked out. And
No,
no, or did he kill one before he got knocked
he
out?
he finished him off. He killed him.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think Rev and I both caught a normal one, and then we basically combined caught the thing. So I package up half of it and send it with my squire as a messenger to go run it on over before winter starts.
Okay, so you're gonna send him 10 of the 20?
Yep.
All right. Are you sending anything to Vitamar? You don't have to. I'm just asking for clarity.
No, because this is specifically the bounty. Because I was maintaining the position of the.
Yeah.
prisoners.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, and then of course you're keeping the bracelet, armband thingy. Alrighty. Before we start with Winter Phase, which is our next event, does anybody have anything they would like to explore, pursue, undertake?
So I had a question. I know how I have 3 of my estates are currently the property of my wife. Yes, but they revert back to the crown upon her death.
Correct.
Is there a process for converting them to ones that go down my family line as opposed to ones that revert?
You, at the very least, would need to speak with the Earl. Because more than likely he is there's a specific title, I can't think of it, but basically he's the one that owns the land. And the families would be holding it.
Yeah, because I have 3 Demence Manors that would revert to him on the death of my wife.
Right.
And 2 of them that are enfeoffed, which would go down my family line.
Right.
Indeg's family line, which is now mine.
Right.
So I'm just curious how that would work. Otherwise, I would in general want to just do general improvements. Is there a particular section of the book that talks about improvements for your manors and the like?
Not in the core book. There are 2 books put out by Chaosium that specifically deal with manor improvements. It's the Book of the Manor and the Book of the Estate. They both kind of sort of tackle the same object, but they do it from 2 separate lenses. And I can't explain it to you very well. What I can say is that I have Book of the Estate, and in there are a number of potential improvements that you guys can do. And I've been meaning to do this for a couple of months. I've just never gotten around to it because of everything else that I'm managing, both for this campaign, other campaigns, personal life, etc., etc. What I've been meaning to do is essentially take those improvements and more or less adjust how the book presents it to make it a relatively simple and straightforward system here. Because if you try to read the Book of the Estate, it talks in some length about how the county is divided up into what are called hundreds, which are basically the next layer down of subdivision, and what that means for the knights and the earls and the barons and all that stuff. And frankly, to me, it's too much information. I cannot process enough of it to make sense. Book of the Manor might have been a better choice for me, but I've also heard that the Book of Manor can get a little gritty and dry and spreadsheety. So I was trying to find something where here are a number of options. You invest so much money over so many years, and now this thing produces some benefit for you on your property. Also, side note, if your property ever gets attacked, it could be damaged or destroyed. So here are other numbers in how to repair or replace. Which to me is a much more straightforward, simplistic way than what I am seeing so far. Now, mind you, of course, this is all through how I perceive it. Others can say, well, Book of the Estate is really easy. I don't understand why you're having such a hard time with it. It's literally how my brain is wired versus the next person. Having said all that, I still need to actually sit down and do that. And I want to. I actually almost did it the other day, but then I think my son wanted to go do something, so I didn't. In the short term here and now, what we can do is you can select, so much Librum. I would say probably not much more than 5 to represent yearly upkeep, updating the manor, maintenance, and things of that nature. Make a note of it, and then later, when I do actually have some sort of system put together, that 5 Librum can be assigned to something that you're actually trying to work on. Say, for instance, if you're trying to build a vineyard, you can put some of that 5 Librum to it, and that way you don't actually have to invest what you already have at that time. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, what you did with me was I told you what I wanted to do, and you told me how it would work. So
Yeah.
you sort of homebrewed a thing.
I absolutely homebrewed that too. That was straight up me making some shit up one day.
Yeah, so
Kind of in line with what I wanted versus what I was seeing.
Yeah.
And frankly, what I produced for you might still be more complicated than it needed to be, but I feel like it's because I feel like anything that it gets put into your manors that's eventually going to produce something, whether it's a monetary thing or a bonus to you, like it's going to take time, because artisanry, if that's even the right word, isn't really that far along in development at this point, outside of like, yeah, we can make tools and we can make saddles and we can make weapons. Those are all fairly easy. But when you want to take a chunk of land and turn it into an apple orchard, for instance, where apples don't already grow on this particular piece of land, that's going to take time. That's going to take effort. And we don't know how to do that because we're not orcharders.
Oh, I make cherry orchard for cherry blossom and to make haiku.
I feel like you just insulted a significant portion of the planet, but that's just my opinion. Although I do appreciate the cherry blossom reference, because right now cherry blossoms are going crazy out here in Washington. Or at least my part of Washington. They're almost actually dying right now, which is, well, that's the whole point of the cherry blossom, isn't it? I digress. We're getting off track here. Yes, short answer back to your question, Rodance. Set some money aside and call that a generic investment, and then later we can actually get a little bit more specific with that particular money when I finally sit down and come up with something.
Same here. I'm ready to invest already.
Yeah, because you definitely brought that up last session, or the session, or maybe it was the last winter phase session. You were like, I really want to...
It was just after winter phase when I was
Yeah.
Yeah,
when you had your family meeting, yeah. And then especially, and for the record, I did that thing, the leather thing for Rev, because not that there's anything that requires me to try to keep the playing field even. You guys, Vitamar and Dallin, you guys are pulling in money that, frankly, Everhart isn't.
Hmm.
Because you guys have all those other manners. So I wanted to try to give him some sort of balance, I guess you could say. But I also didn't want to give it to him. Just be like, hey, here's an extra bunch of cash you found while, I don't know, mowing your yard. So, on that note, is there anything else before we dive into winter phase? Anybody, that is. I'm not hearing anything, so I'm assuming nobody has anything.
Yeah, I don't got anything.
Okay. All right. In that case, it is now winter phase. Dum da da da. Spreadsheets.
Fuck.
Hello.
Yay, winter phase.
Thought I heard somebody say something.
I said
Yeah, I
yay.
dropped the F-bomb.
No. It is said that the king is actually in a good mood, and the prince is heard saying things like, "We're not afraid of those northern Saxon kings. We've forced them off of their siege of Ibericum, and we're gonna fight Octa and Yosa next summer." And then in the court of Earl Roderick, the feeling is that the Saxons must have suffered many losses. So if you guys recall, and for the viewers as well, over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, the Saxon kings in the north, specifically Octa and Eosa, who are the sons and or nephew, I forget which one's which, of the previous Saxon king, Hengist, they've been causing all sorts of problems to the north of Logris, which is where we've been previously, such as Lindsay and Ibericum. I believe last year, or excuse me, no, actually earlier this year, Duke Lindsay was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to Cornwall. I've got a whole bunch of Saxons basically in my backyard. Because the Saxons had sieged Ibericum, and were trying to conquer that city, which was a couple years ago, where Sir Dallin had gone in an effort to bring, oh god, what was his name? Everybody called him the Centurion King, but I can't think of his name. Something Diapre Ives, something, I don't know. It's a really Frenchy name, and I'm not good with French. But anyway, the Centurion King, Uther had just gotten Excalibur, and Uther was trying to get everybody on his team, and the Centurion King was like, no, I'm busy, go away, I've got Saxons to deal with. And he wasn't lying. That Saxon problem has increased in the last couple of years since then. And now, this year, while Uther went off to deal with Gorlo, Ibericum was under siege. Gorlo was taken care of positively, not like put in a body bag. And everybody in the British army went north to relieve Duke Lindsay, and to add pressure to the Saxons. And of course, you guys had your big fight with a Saxon raiding party that was going okay, and then it wasn't. Because your GM still needs to learn how to balance encounters, basically. Anyway.
Yeah. Fucking my character getting critical or killed off.
I
on
can't
this
help
whole
when the
time.
criticals rolled, though.
I don't
Please,
know about that.
Your character died before the Thane was even in combat.
I know.
He's taken this Brotherhood of Dead Men thing a little more
A little too
direct.
literal.
than they're-
All right, so here's what I propose to the table. Why don't we go ahead and take about a 5-minute break, because I know winter phase can get kind of lengthy, and we're sitting at about 44 minutes into the video. Anybody opposed?
Nope.
That's fine.
All right,
I'm good.
Okay.
I'll go put some tea on.
there you go. All right, my friends at home, or if you're watching on YouTube, this video is going to end, and you can just go on to the next one. We will be back in just a few minutes, so stick around. We got spreadsheets coming up. Lots of fun, those spreadsheets.
Add that next video to your queue, YouTubers.
Yeah, also like and subscribe and comment. You know, the things that YouTubers say that I never remember to say. Right, because I think it's
Follow
funny.
for follow.
No, we don't do that here. All right. All right, we'll be back in a few minutes, my friends. Stick around.